Hi, everyone. This is the SEBA meeting for March 5th, 2019. What we have on the agenda today is there's a release criteria document that was that Larry published or maybe posted to the listservs. I just wanted to mention that to people because we're starting to think about the as we proceed into further releases of Cord and other component projects like SEBA and Volta and whatnot, we're starting to think about what criteria we have for releasing different software components and then releasing the integration as a whole. So this goes over some of those items, and really it's focused sort of in two ways: on that integration portion and also on making it easier for individual software developers to interact with and either consume or make it easy to contribute to code. So it's worth taking a look through it. It's not official or final in any way, so we could really use input. That said, the next item we had was doing a JIRA review. And before we get started with that, I'd like to just ask if anyone has any other topics they'd like to discuss in the meeting today. Okay, so let's turn over to JIRA. So there have been 26 stories completed since the last since we last did a review, which was I think 2 weeks ago. I'll start. It's alphabetical, so I'm going to start with Andy. Andy, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Do you want to speak to SEBA 438?
Sure. So actually, all of these ones with my name next to it are all related. So the issue that we observed is in testing of SEBA, we state not getting updated. Try to fix these issues, we started looking at race conditions among various tasks in XOS that are all updating the data model. So that's what SEBA 438 is about, just doing this analysis of trying to figure out where these race conditions are coming from. And one of the main places was, as I just mentioned, multiple tasks updating the same piece of state and overwriting each other. So I created a tool to try to find these places where state is being written by from multiple places, and then use that tool to fix some of the services. That's the other 466 through 468 are fixes based on that analysis tool. So yeah, all of those changes are merged now, and so I think from my testing at least, the system is more robust than it was before the changes.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
That's it.
The next few items are look to be related to BBSIM. Is Arcata and Mahir on? It sounds like they're not.
Okay, I can explain probably some of them if that helps. So SEBA 474, that's the next one you see. That's just BBSIM when it sends DHCP messages. The way it comes to Volta and ONOS are that the C tag for the particular ONU or the RG behind the ONU, it should come with the C tag, and BBSIM wasn't doing that. It was sending it untagged, so he added the C tag. So if you go back, let's see. So Mahir reported that there were some ONUs that were in discovered state. I believe that was resolved, but there was some bugs in BBSIM not handling some messages, I think. So that's been resolved as he demonstrated in the Volta meeting. BBSIM can now, send out 90 or so ONUs that are, at least in Volta, they are faithfully discovered and they go into active state. So that's that. And serial number, yeah, that's a recent change in the OpenOLT adapter in Volta that requires the OLT to send its true serial number. So BBSIM made that change quite recently. So that's fine. And the one that I'm skipped over, the OMCI message failure, that one I don't remember actually. If Shad is online, he might remember that.
I remember it was
Okay.
for handling the OMCI messenger, BBSIM to handle the OMCI messengers for the synchronizer time and get alarm messages. BBSIM wasn't handling it correctly, but that got fixed.
Okay, thanks, Kailash.
Okay, thanks, Saurav and Kailash. The next items are Mateos. I think to start here, it looks like they start with some documentation fixes. Are you on, Mateo?
Yeah, I'm on. So the first two are just documentation fixes. There were some questions on the mailing list, so we addressed them and we improved the documentation. SEBA 504 was a bug that Suchitra reported. Basically, if you remove an OLT from Volta, after you have some ONUs that were active, ONOS will remember the state of those ports. And so as soon as you bring back up the same OLT, it will send a disable event to NEM, and then will actually disable the ONU, causing a loop for which the ONU is mistakenly disabled, and that has been fixed.
Okay.
Okay, SEBA 446, it's something that will require a lot more work, but we have the foundation to do this now. We implemented model-based scale test for NEM. So basically, we are emulating all the calls and Kafka events that will happen on a real system to start doing some scaling and performance analysis on them. So we basically fake events on Kafka saying, hey, we have these 300 active ONUs, and then we are going to authenticate these subscribers and this kind of operations.
Okay. I think the next few are migration related.
Yes, the next few, next 4, 5, they're part of the ISSU work. We discussed about that last week. These are just the tasks that reflect those tasks.
Okay, and the next, that looks like this is another migration related one, 492.
Migration 493 was maintenance for the guide.
Right. Saurav, you have 388.
Yeah, so this was an issue with hardware reboots, specifically of the AG switch. We are actually looking at hardware reboots of the OLT also right now, and there's a couple of issues there that are still in the works. But as far as the AG switch goes, there were 2 problems in the hardware reboot. One that was happening every time, one that was intermittent. So I fixed this particular 388 issues. I fixed the one that was happening every time. And the one that was intermittent is actually already fixed in ONOS 113.7, I believe. So we're still using 113.5, but as soon as the tech profile work is complete, we will release ONOS 113.9, and that will incorporate the fix for the intermittent issue as well.
Okay, thanks, Arav, and thanks, Mateo, for the other items. The next items are Scott's. Scott on?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here. So the first one, dynamic load API does not require authentication. So there were some APIs in both the dynamic load and the utility endpoints in XOS that did not have authentication checks on them. Unauthenticated people could load or unload a service. That bug has been fixed. Going back to the next one, test data model migrations for renamed fields. So we had a data model migration test that added a field. So I've added ones that remove a field and ones that rename fields. So that should be all of the field related migration tests. Remove chameleon dependency from the XOS library. So the XOS API library, it used the subset of chameleon that is responsible for doing chameleon's client connection. So there's some logic that was built into chameleon that downloads a schema and then builds protobufs. XOS kind of co-opted that logic for its own, and until now we've been copying the parts of the chameleon repo that we need into the XOS tree, but that presents a lot of issues from a build perspective. So rather than copying those on demand, we just manually moved over those few files that we needed and took ownership of them in XOS.
So I was looking at this too. I might need to talk to you about this specific thing, Scott, because I was having some trouble when I removed a directory, but we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, we can. It seemed to be working for me, but yeah, we can talk about it offline.
Okay.
What's up next? Handle service removal. So this was part of the data migration work and was doing the appropriate steps to remove services from XOS. So there's some additional things that have to be done, such as when you remove a service, you can't actually remove it while there is live data in the data model. You have to wait for the live data to be deleted so that the deletion steps in the synchronizer can, make those calls out to whatever services they're synchronizing to clean up those models in the dependent services. So this was basically a bunch of logic in the synchronizer to handle kind of a three-step process of delete the data, wait for the data deletion sync steps to be run, and then shut down the synchronizer. So that's it.
Okay, thanks, Scott. The next two are mine. 314 was a problem with the trace log level that was added. I dealt with this on some parts of it, and Andy also incorporated this into one of his patches. So this is done. And the last one was SEBA 512, which is a bug that we found related to basically there was a portion of the generative tool chain that takes an Xproto file and turns it into other useful components. And when it was converting to a Django component or creating a Django file, it would, depending on the order of items that were iterated over in a dictionary, it would generate different output. And it was non-deterministic because dictionaries in Python don't have order. So this actually was blocking some of the other things, but that's been resolved. So those are all the items that we've completed in the last 2 weeks. So it's a good chunk of work. So I'm going to move from there over to the normal Jira board, and we can go through the items that are in next. So looking at the ones that are in process, I have SEBA 450, which is testing the Python libraries using Tox. This is in preparation for getting them all published on PyPy so we can disaggregate some of the ties, or so we can remove some of the dependencies between services in the XOS core. This is still in progress. It was blocked on the SEBA 512 patch that just went in. So I'm still working on this. The next item was removing the deprecated synchronizer framework. Scott, you're working on this?
Yeah, so we actually have a patch that does that and is believed to be passing. That is the last step before we do the XOS release. So we're not going to merge that until we're ready with the release, because that will be intentionally breaking the backward compatibility of the synchronizer framework.
And this is the last step before, in the future, we're going to have an upgrade path after we get 3.0 out of XOS with the migration support.
Yeah. So we've got the migration support in. So yeah, in theory, this doesn't actually break. The synchronizers that we have running currently now that are using Core 2.2.2 and above will continue to work after this patch is merged. So this doesn't actually break it, but older synchronizers that were running on XOS 2.1 or 2.2 that have not been upgraded, they will not continue to work. So this is just, it's an API change that's not backward compatible. So new existing synchronizers need to be migrated, and we have migrated all of the ones that are currently in use. Does that answer your question, Zach?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. SEBA 505, this was reported by Suchitra and Mateo. You're working on this?
Yeah, I'm working on that. There is already an image out that fixes that issue. It's not used in the Helm chart yet. I'm waiting for Jenkins to merge the patch. And then I have another one to cherry pick it on master that is still pending verification in Gerrit. But it's close to be done.
Okay, thanks, Mateo. SEBA 387, this is Suchitra's, it's automate data plane scenarios.
Yes, this is automating data plane failure scenarios actually. So there are a couple scenarios where we are trying to reboot RG, ONU, OLT, and like the fabric switch, etc. There are some listed there, and still continuing to work on them. There are still few bugs that we are seeing, and working with development also to get them resolved, and yeah, it should be done.
So I had one comment on this. Other than reboots, I think Matt had once mentioned that we would like to have automated tests for doing things like fiber pulls, right? And I did look around a little bit to figure out a way to automate the fiber pull. The best way I could think about was to basically put an optical switch that can be driven electronically via an API. I found a little device from Thor Labs that would do that. It costs about $1,500, which gave me a little bit of a heartburn. So if anyone on the call has ideas about automating a fiber pull scenario along the lines that I've specified, please do speak up or reach out to me or on the mailing lists.
Okay, thanks, Suchitra and Saurav. That does seem interesting. I can't imagine we're the only ones who have a need to automate that specific step.
Yeah, I can send out a link to the device I found. Maybe others will have better ideas.
Just shocked how cheap you found it.
$1,500 for a 1x2 optical switch that can be driven.
Yeah.
Those optical switches should. I thought it was going to be a few $100s, but
Yeah.
$1,500. Anyway.
Okay, and SEBA 437, job to build the OpenOLT Debian package versions for testing. This is
yeah. I'm working on this job right now. It's to build the latest OpenOLT software that runs on the OLT hardware. So the idea here is to build the package and push them to our QA pod so that we can get some continuous testing done on OpenOLT and then just validate versions as updates are going to OpenOLT. Right now, currently, we're just manually copying over the OpenOLT Debians given and approved by Shad. So we want to automate this.
Okay, thanks, Kailash. I have some experience with automating this and putting them into a Debian repo. If you're interested, I can point you in the direction of that code.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Okay, SEBA 281, handle delete ONT use case. Is Dawn on? I think I heard him earlier, but
Did you say Don?
yes, Dawn. I think this is your idea, your item 281.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I actually believe it's fixed.
Okay.
I can retest it.
Okay, that would be great. Please do, and then close the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I know it works in the gRPC world. This was something I ran into with Tosca, but yeah, I thought I had closed that one. All right, I'll test it and close it.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Just a quick question on that one. Are there any like dependencies? Like if I have services configured for ONU, would the delete get rejected, or would that go ahead and just delete everything?
So I know in the delete OLT use case, NEM won't allow you to delete an OLT until all the subscribers have been removed on that particular OLT. For the ONT, I'm not so sure. Do you know, Mateo? Or,
I think you cannot delete an ONU if there is an associated subscriber, but I'll have to check. I think you have to check in both places.
I think what the workflow actually does is take it out of the whitelist.
but then that's just disabling an ONT. It's not quite delete. Well, I guess in principle, how else would you delete an ONT? ONT.
Yeah, if the ONT is at the end of the fiber, it's going to be in the system.
Right. So, yeah, disabling it. Yeah, I guess it's the same thing. So taking it out of the whitelist certainly doesn't check for subscribers on it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we've been told top down to disable the ONT, and we just disable it, right? So does that answer your question, Sean?
And the reality is, you don't actually want to delete the subscriber. You would want it to be able to reassociate a new ONT with it. I mean, that was part of the use case I was working. Was when the truck rolls and has to swap out one ONT for another, you would disable the one and then re-enable the other.
So I just checked. You can disable an ONT if you have a subscriber associated to it. You cannot delete it if you have subscribers associated to it.
Yeah. I don't think actually deleting the ONT makes sense, except maybe as a cleanup after the fact.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess if it's still, if it's still connected to the PON, it's going to show up, right? But it won't have any service until it authenticates and gets whitelisted. Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone. Those are all the in-progress items. We have a few items that are in the list but are not in progress. 303, authentication fails sometimes after reboot. You noted.
Yeah, so I can answer to that. So both 303 and the next one, which is 453, that is fiber disconnecting. Both of those are potentially fixed. We just with a patch that Mateo.
SEBA 504.
I'm sorry.
With SEBA 504.
Yeah, 504. You pushed that yesterday, and we just have to monitor it and actually test it to see if these two issues are fixed. Basically, what was happening is that NEM was incorrectly disabling an ONU when it shouldn't be doing anything. So once we fix that, these two should have been taken care of, but we just need to test that this week.
Okay, and then the this is another physical reboot item.
Yeah, Shad and I are working on that right now. We do find some issues with when the OLT just reboots on its own, right? So NEM hasn't actually gone and removed subscribers and then deleted the OLT, which causes the OLT to actually reboot. If the device just physically reboots on its own while services were up and running and so on, we do find some issues when it reconnects after the reboot. So we're just working through those issues right now. Actually, this should really be in progress.
Okay, I'll change it to that.
Hey, Saurav, is this
Yeah.
something Volta itself has seen before, or just happened recently?
Well, the thing is, we're working with Volta Master right now in 1.x, and when we did the release of SEBA 1.0, which was with Volta 1.6, yeah, we had a known issue regarding a lot of the hardware reboots, both the OLT as well as the AG switch. So it's like we're just getting to it now and finding these issues. So it's probably been there before too.
Okay. So would that be something Edge Core will need to get involved on this one? I just wonder why would trigger it.
It's an issue with the software that we don't handle the state correctly when a box reboots while in service.
Okay.
So it's got to do with Volta. It's got to do with ONOS. I don't think it's a hardware issue itself.
Okay.
We're just saying that what if the power knocks out on the OLT or it just goes bad for whatever reason and reboots.
Okay.
The rest of the system should be able to handle it. That's what we're saying. So that's what this story is about.
Okay, thanks, Saurav. The next item is SEBA 496. This is one of mine. This is using the libraries that are released on PyPy and XOS containers. This is dependent on that 450 patch, which was waiting on the 512 patch. But that's should be fairly simple once we get the other 450 patch in. The next item was 509 XOS, but this looks like it was resolved.
Yeah, I just checked it resolved right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I finished this up a couple days ago. This was relative paths in XOS migrate. If you told it to use, .. it would look for files in the wrong place. So that's fixed.
Okay, great, Scott. 240 XOS UI freeze, Mateo.
Yeah, so in some cases, this is mostly a developer issue, and we'll probably see the same issue when we scale up. But in some cases, the UI receives a lot of notification from the backend because we are updating a lot of information at the same time. And after a certain number of notifications, the UI freezes. And the browser gets responsive. It's not very nice. It's not a blocker, but I would like to get that fixed.
So for example, if of course we don't have that many ONT on the OLT today. So if there's a, let's say if there's a 64 ONT on that OLT and then more, so if OLT got rebooted, then that potentially will freeze the XOS GUI.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't think it will happen with 64. But if you have 64,
you mean less? Sorry.
Plan 64 that will keep failing, the UI will freeze. Then it's not something you can not recover from. You just need to refresh the page and everything starts working again. It's just something not nice to have there.
Okay. Oh, and this is discovered quite early, the 240. That's quite early. Okay.
So is the issue here just the quantity of notifications? Do we need to reduce them in some way? Is this a server-side fix or is this a browser?
No, so, I can go in the technical details, but I think we shouldn't cut down the notification. The UI should be a little smarter in handling them or discarding them.
Okay. Thanks, Mateo.
Sure.
The next item is also yours, renaming the Expo Services folder.
Yeah, this is a very small thing. That's the only folder we have in the repository that's using an underscore instead of a dash, and multiple people in the community complained about that difference. So we're going to finally fix it after a few years.
Okay. Alrighty. And then SEBA 306, the Alte App should be aware of OLTs after they're removed from status.
Yeah, this has got to do with, so when NEM decides, okay, it's been told that I want to get rid of this OLT, it removes it from status. At that point, if, let's see, the ONOS app that deals with OLTs is trying to fetch some information about that OLT, well, it's gone now from status, and it doesn't handle that very cleanly. It doesn't affect any services, but you know, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't handle it very cleanly. So, yeah. So it just needs to clean up a little bit better.
Okay.
So still, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Saurav. And the last item is Don's, a tagged version of the MongoDB driver. I think this was a dependency issue in the abstract OLT.
Yeah.
Don, it's a question for you.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking backwards. Which one are you looking at? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at the Go meeting. I was looking at the board. Use tag word. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had changed out the API on it kind of radically. Yeah, and I was going to get back with you, and I've kind of set the abstract OLT on the side for a little while sort some stuff out internally.
So maybe we need to move this to near future?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, I'll move it to near future, and we'll come back around once we have a better idea of, or once you have a better idea of what's going on with abstract OLT.
Yep.
Okay, those are all the items that are in the next branch. It's pretty small. It's we only have 13 items remaining to get done, and I think most of them are. I think for the XOS stuff, most of the cleanup that we have is going to get done probably by the end of the week. Some of the other ones, like the testing, I think are going to probably be more as we get to it, and I don't think those are as time critical in terms of our staff. Does that sound about right, Saurav?
Yeah, that's right. So what we are looking to do is basically flush out these remaining stories that are what we call in the next version within this week or at most next week. The reason is that we are going to now focus on SEBA 2.0, which is planned for the end of June. And it's actually a good time to do that because the containerization brigade is up and running. and the Tech Profile Brigade is looking to wrap things up within the next couple of weeks. So we will be introducing the Tech Profile work into SEBA and handling that on a system-wide scale. So that work is going to start as soon as we wrap up next. And I believe next Tuesday on the SEBA call, we will present sort of the planning for the SEBA 2.0 release. And so next Tuesday's call, we will again do it on a basis of Jira, but give you an idea about the roadmap of what we have over the next 4 months and then beyond. So next Tuesday's call will be all about SEBA 2.0. Any questions folks may have about what we covered today?
SEBA,
yeah.
On SEBA 505. So is that a dependency thing? So basically, I shouldn't be able to do the ONU, you know, if it has a subscriber associated with it or something like that.
So there was a check in the code that won't let you activate a subscriber unless you have specified which ONU it's attached to. And because of that check was triggered also when you were trying to delete the subscriber.
Sorry, was it?
Does that answer your question?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, if I think that wraps it up. If anyone has any other questions, let me know, and we can put them on the next call agenda. And I'll see everyone next week. Thanks all.
So Zach, so maybe let me send you the the lockdown face-to-face meeting survey. Maybe you can include that in the meeting minutes, and would like to.
Okay.
So far I have not. Just SEBA work alone, other than ONF. I don't see other people from the vendor side, and AT&T is also part of it. The supplier side will be attending on the SEBA community side. So, but we have a community nomination process also in that survey. So I welcome the members from the SEBA developers team to go in, even if you're not attending the meeting, fill out the form for the community contribution also.
Okay, great, Sean. I'll add that to the call agenda, and I know that you've shared that on the listserv. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'll talk to everyone later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.